let's go ahead and jump into G Suite overview. I'm not going to do too much time on the actual document itself. You can pull that up. I've got it up on my phone over here. It's going to be my script for the training tonight. And there we go, finally. So we're going to be talking about Google Classroom, Google Calendar, Drive, Docs, Slides, and Sheets. Docs, Slides, and Sheets I've kind of all combined into one little blurb. And that's mainly because the applications all work in the same way. They may have different purposes. So obviously Docs is going to be the word processor, Slides is the presentation, so PowerPoints, and then the Sheets is going to be your spreadsheets, similar to Excel. So they'll have their own individual purposes, but they all work in a very similar fashion as far as accessing and all that stuff. So I've just kind of grouped those three things together. So multiple ways. Students can just type classroom.google.com in the address bar. Additionally, in the top right-hand corner, there is the Google Apps button, so you can click on that to open it. And there are all sorts of Google Suite applications that can be accessed through this Google Apps icon. And Google Classroom is right there. So once they access Google Classroom, it's going to take them into the Classroom dashboard. All the core classes, all the electives are going to have their own classes, so they will see a tile for each individual class. And the tiles are nice because, assuming that the teachers are using due dates for each of the assignments that they post, it actually gives the students a quick view or a quick look in that class without actually having to jump into the class. So right here for Brendel's advisory, we can see our student has to complete student goals, which is due Friday night by 11:59 p.m. And then in science class for our student here, they have a quiz, looks like on Friday. So that's a really nice, convenient way to be able to just see a quick shot of what's going on in each one of the classes. All right, next up then, we're going to jump into Google Calendar. So as you might imagine, students can just type calendar.google.com, and just like before, they can open up the Google Apps button and click on Calendar. So from Calendar, students have the ability to change their view. This particular student is defaulting to the week view, and so if they click and expand the drop-down menu here, they can choose between day, week, month, year, schedule for days. Personally, as an adult, I like to see it in the month view, but for some of our students, sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. So it might be a good idea if they start to use the week view as kind of their default. They could certainly, again, change it whenever they need to. Students being overwhelmed, you know, we look at the calendar and we see all these events, and it gets to be a little too much. And so in the bottom left corner is where they will have the ability to enable or disable the view of given calendars. So right now I have both my science class and advisory class enabled. As you can imagine, with 6-8 classes, then this week view can fill up pretty quickly. And so what we can tell the students to do is, just like they would do on the old homework calendar, they can enable and disable certain calendars from being viewed. And the really nice thing is that if they hover over a class, they get some additional buttons, and one of which is the options. So if they click on options, then they can say display only this calendar. So that way they're only looking at the events specifically for that class. And in this case, it happens to be the science class. Now, these purple events that you see were generated by Google Classroom automatically for both the teacher and the student, and it is based on the assignments that the teacher posts, assuming that they are using due dates. Two big questions that I keep hearing a lot about in terms of Google Calendar. Number one, you know, can I as a parent have that calendar synchronized? My student's calendar synchronized with my personal calendar. Teachers can set a Google Calendar to be publicly viewed. So they will just turn on one little setting for that particular calendar. They get a shareable link, and then they can email that link out to the parents. If you are wanting to be able to monitor students' work within a class, just to kind of help keep you up to date as to what's going on. But the Really nice thing about that though is when the assignment is posted, it is, number one, it's actually going to post on the day that it is due, which is different than how Shelton has done homework calendars previously. That's the one caveat with Google Classroom and Google Calendar. In an effort to fix that, we are going to instruct teachers to create a week-long event. So it'll be an all-day event that spans all the way across the top here, and it will say something like weekly agenda. And so when a student clicks on that event, it's going to have a breakdown of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So they're going to see the agenda for the entire week, and then they will see those assignments being posted on the days that they are due. Okay. Now, in addition to the Google Classes calendars, the students also have their own personal calendar. So let's say, I want to set a reminder for myself here. But we can add a specific time if we want to, or we can just leave it kind of an all-day thing, and then it'll just be anchored up to the top there. We're going to go ahead and click on more options so that we can get to our notifications. And then notifications, we can set it up as a notification that comes through Chrome or an email. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Here is my reminder. Darth Vader is blue, so Darth has the ability to drag these events wherever he wants to. Cool thing about the calendar, when an assignment is posted from Google Classroom into Calendar, as we've said, it creates this event, but it also includes a link that goes directly to the assignment for that class. They just click on the event, open up that link, and here is the assignment. So that's a really nice aspect of Google Class and Google Calendar. So let's talk about Google Drive then. So as you can imagine, drive.google.com will get you there. Google Apps button on a new window or a new tab, click on Drive from there as well. Google Drive is cloud storage for your students. The really neat thing about Google Drive is that it too integrates with Google Classroom. And so all the assignments provided by the teacher and then they complete and turn in and all that stuff, it is all stored in their Google Drive. So when they open up their Google Drive for the first time, they're going to see a folder already in there called Classroom. And if they open up Classroom, it's going to have a folder for each individual class. So here our student only has 2 classes, science and advisory. And so if I open up the science folder, here are all the assignments that this student has been assigned. And you'll notice that they all start with the student's name: Darth Vader, Ecology Lab, Investigating Decomposition. And so that's one of the really nice things about Google Classroom is when a teacher attaches a doc, a slide, or sheet, or anything like that, it automatically appends the title of that document with the student's name, first and last name. And then it automatically stores it into that student's Google Drive. This can start to look really chaotic though, especially as the year goes on and all of the assignments start to pile up. We're going to have students create folders, and we're going to have something like homeworks, notes, quizzes, and tests. Those will kind of be the default folders that they are going to create. Once they meet with their teachers may ask them to add or modify some of those folders, but these will be folders that they will go ahead and set up for each one of their classes in advance. So the students are going to be able to create folders, and that's as easy as clicking on this new plus button. So we're going to go ahead and click folder. It's going to ask us to title it. And there's my new folder. Students can also use the secondary click on a Mac. It is 2 fingers clicking on the trackpad. There we go. Submenu comes up, hit new folder, and we'll call this one notes. So it's as easy as that. And then this also does support drag and drop. So if students happen to have something on their desktop, they can simply click and drag. So not that you can see it, but I am clicking and dragging, and here is the document that was on my desktop. So click and drag, release, and there is that document. So that is now in Google Drive and accessible from any device that is internet connected. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that though, because I don't actually want that there. All right, we'll just go to docs.google.com. Again, they could use the Google Apps button to get here. This is set up very similar to Microsoft Word. So when you first open up those applications, they're going to show you documents that you've recently been working on, and that's what's happening here. So we can see all of the documents that this student has been working on recently, slides.google.com. And so recent presentations, their templates, template gallery, so on and so forth. They also have a nice search function in here, so they can search for their documents if they don't see it in the recents. Here's their Gmail, so they can just click on that to get to their email. Once again, I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you for joining, and I hope that y'all learned a little bit, if not a lot of it. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. Any issues or difficulties, email techhelp@shelton.org. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.